Hi everybody. I don't know who's watching today, but it's good to have somebody out there. It's another gray day. It's November, and it's just one of those days I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything, but I have to today because I haven't been out of the house for a while. But today I'm going to read you part of my first published novel, and it's set in Boston, which is my hometown. So I kind of knew what I was talking about with the setting in this one. This one is All That Glitters, and it was originally published a while ago and got very good reviews and is kind of enjoying a little resurgence now that I've put it out again. It's funny how you look at the pages afterwards and I'm finding little itsy bitsy problems I need to fix. But they're not going to take away from the plot. It's just little things that drive me nuts, things that aren't supposed to be there. Anyways, I'm going to read you a piece of this today, and if you wait till the end, I have a little surprise for everybody. So I hope you're having a good holiday season, and that you'll keep in touch with me and let me know what you're doing. Okay, a little bit from All That Glitters. Early for her appointment, Diana leisurely walked to the swan boats in the public gardens. The pansies and petunias lining the walkways were in full bloom, giving life to the drab gray and brick buildings which surrounded the area, reminding Bostonians that winter doesn't last forever. She sat on a stone bench under an ancient oak tree and thought about her life, about where she was going and what she was going to do. Her mind raced and her hands trembled like cymbals. Taking a deep breath, she rose and glanced down Newbury Street, feeling an unexpected pang of jealousy when she noticed the well-dressed women walking leisurely in and out of the fashionable boutiques lining the road leading away from the gardens. The Ritz-Carlton's multicolored flags whipped in the wind as a long black limousine stopped underneath. A mink-clad woman exited and stalked into the hotel. Another world, Diana thought. What the hell am I doing here? Smoothing her new black linen dress, she pulled a mirror from her pocketbook, applied a little more lipstick, and with another deep breath got up and walked on shaky legs across the gardens to Charles Street. Crossing at the light at the intersection of Beacon and Charles, she faced memories of the days when Marcus, Rob, and she took the train into town. They would walk down Charles Street to the Baskin-Robbins ice cream shop for what Mark called his sugar fix. Lost in her daydream, she was startled when an angry motorist beeped his horn. At the top of Beacon Hill to her right, the State House dome, its gold roof gleaming, sat like a sentinel over the city its residents fondly called Beantown. Each tiny street which led away from the gold dome was small enough to be considered a neighborhood, yet not quite as friendly as the one she knew. Lined with brownstones, sporting fancy wrought iron balustrades and balconies, the streets had been built and originally occupied by the oldest families in Boston, those that dated their ancestry back to the Mayflower. For the most part, the buildings had been passed down through the generations and remained in the families. Inside were exquisite furnishings, uniformed maids and butlers, and exotic teas drunk from silver cups, Diana had heard. The newspapers often spoke of society balls and magnificent parties which only those of Yankee heritage could attend. Though this was the Boston with which the world was familiar, it was only a small part of the various communities which kept the city going, and was much resented by the immigrant families who paid the bulk of the city's taxes and represented the majority of the workforce. Understanding how it felt to be part of that workforce didn't make Diana resent the magnates who ruled the corporations from their perches on Beacon Hill, but she admitted to feeling a bit awed by their power and influence. Perhaps jealous is the word she thought, ashamed to admit it. Charles Street professed to be a neighborhood. Its small, unusual shops served the residents of the area, as did Mr. Scavullo's Italian grocery store. But instead of selling gabagola and cured ham, they advertised bottles of Perrier, fresh fruits and vegetables, and 22 different kinds of yogurt. The smells from the restaurants which lined the street were just as wonderful as those which wafted from Sablonis and Santarpios in East Boston, but Diana knew she couldn't afford to eat in any of these. Even if she could, she'd probably come away still feeling hungry. The colonial-style lamps lining the once cobblestone street were originally lighted by gas, though they were now electric. They reminded her of a street from a Charles Dickens novel. She could easily imagine a gentleman in a long Edwardian coat and beaver top hat striding along the street, holding his ladder and lamplighter in one hand, tipping his hat to the ladies with the other. Each light would be individually lit, giving the street a golden glow and illuminating the wares in shop windows. Perhaps this once was a cobbler's shop. The next might have been a bookstore with shelves full of leather-bound volumes of Shakespeare and the Greek classics, which would be sold to proper Boston families, like the Cabots or the Lodges. In the summer, black-hooded, horse-drawn carriages would carry their wealthy clientele down the roadway to the Charles River for open-air symphonies and picnics, then back to the quiet homes on the hill overlooking the Boston Common and public gardens. Diana hummed a Strauss waltz under her breath, ignoring the puzzled looks of passerby. She sighed. That was then, she reminded herself as she came to the shop where she would be interviewed. This is now. Though it was much easier to live in daydreams, she shook herself and studied the windows before her. All Glitters was a sizable gift shop located next to Marika's Antiques, the shop which any dealer worth his salt would tell you was the shop to shop for antiques in Boston. Diana had heard that in the earlier part of the century, Israel Sack, a Jewish immigrant who had come through Ellis Island, had made his fortune as an antiques dealer on this street, but no one had been able to match his talent for success since. The immigrant had gone from Charles Street to build an empire which continued to this day and which surpassed any other in the United States. Israel's sons continued to run the business in the same manner as their father. Because of the record-setting prices the company often paid for American antiques, Saks' influence was still felt on Charles Street by many of the dealers who operated shops there and who struggled to keep Boston the hub of the antiques world, though New York had long ago stolen their glory. The windows of all that glitters seemed to have been in place since the Revolution, the kind of wavy glass which made it difficult to see inside. Looking in the window gave Diana a wrinkled view of her face. She hurriedly patted her hair in place, bending this way and that to get a clear image of herself. Silver coffee sets and crystal bowls with dainty silver spoons were meticulously arranged in the window facing the street. Gracefully arranged on white, velvet-covered shelves, the pieces were placed as though someone might use them in their home that afternoon for a high tea with the Vanderbilts or the Rockefellers. She sucked in her breath, her hand at her throat. Never had she seen anything so strikingly beautiful. Neither prices nor makers' tags were displayed in the window. It was obvious that if a client didn't know what they were looking at or what it might be worth, that it would be keeping the business safe from vandalism and theft. The bell on the door jingled melodiously. Afraid she'd break something if she moved one way or the other, she remained standing in the doorway for a second until her eyes adjusted to the dim light. When she could see again, a tall, distinguished-looking gentleman with thinning, blondish-gray hair stood in front of her, studying her face intently. Instantly she was reminded of the English actor, Peter O'Toole. So that's the moment when Diana walks into the shop that ultimately becomes hers, and the moment that she meets the boss who becomes like a father to her, because she lost hers a while ago. That's all that glitters. That's today's reading. And if you decide to order this book today, you will get a free copy of my Paris calendar. I just ordered some copies of the photos that I took in Paris, and if you let me know that you bought all the glitters today, you'll get a copy of that calendar. Anyways, thanks for watching. I see Coral and Doris and Joanne, and somebody else was here too, Carol. I'm so happy you're all here. Take care and have a really good Sunday. Love you all. Bye-bye.